Welcome to the Water Word Podcast. My guest today is Gausia Jones, a good friend of mine, entrepreneur, creative, and today he joins me to share about his journey. I'm honored to have him as a guest. Please join me in welcoming father, creative entrepreneur Gausia Jones to the Water Word Podcast. Welcome, Gausia.
Hey, how you doing, Ryan?
Good man. I will tell anyone who will listen that I've known you probably your whole life because
Yes.
I think you and I landed in the States around the same time. I came here in 1986 from Jamaica, and I believe you came here in the 80s as well, right?
Yeah. I came here in 1987.
Okay. Know your brother, know your mom. We all grew up in the same faith community, so I'm honored to have you here. Proud of all you've accomplished. And I,
Yep.
I think my guests will be inspired by your story.
Mhm.
Wanted to know what led you into entrepreneurship. It seems as far back as I can remember, you were either chefing it up, cooking. So I knew
Mhm.
that you had that spirit to begin with. You were very good with art.
Mhm.
Now you're in a place where you're doing all levels of building, development, remodeling, etc. Talk to me
Mhm.
about when the entrepreneurship bug first hit.
Well, it definitely first hit while we were in school. All the artistic stuff started early, probably sixth, seventh, eighth grade. Ninth grade got into performing arts. And I think in my 10th grade, I started selling goods, candy, chips, juices, having people work for me. So that spirit has always been there, which led me, you know, I cooked a little bit and I opened a restaurant right out of college, but I actually did business. I was a business major at the University of Buffalo and I graduated in 2002. And as soon as I graduated, I opened a restaurant in Mount Vernon and I tried my hand there because I had been cooking and that's what I knew and I had been cooking for a while. And then I sold that to some good friends when I first lost my kidneys, man, when I was 21.
For me, the entrepreneur has a high level of faith because most of
Mm,
us could settle into a 9 to 5 and be comfortable. But that
mm.
wasn't your, and you identified early, that wasn't your calling. You just didn't have that
Yeah,
design,
because
that
I did. Yeah. I didn't. The thing about a 9 to 5 is, and most people talk about building other people's dreams and helping, and that wasn't the knock on it for me. The knock was just being appreciated. I had a few jobs, and I don't think people always appreciated how hard you worked and when you got up and you just you hear building somebody else's dream, yes, but you were putting your dedication into it, and they just didn't appreciate it. So I thought, hey, it'd be better to just do your own thing and hey, you your own boss. Uh, you had to deal with the ups and downs, and that's the thing as an entrepreneur, man. You have to be able to be as happy when you're up and then as happy when you're down. Things like COVID came out of left field and it knocked a lot of people out of work and even their job, even now. Like, oh, you don't want to take the vaccine, you fired. So I think it's breathing a new generation of entrepreneurs and you could see it, man. I don't think a lot of people are going to ever go back to that 9 to 5 thing.
and you and I grew up in New York, but now
Mm.
you are every hashtag, almost every other one I've seen is rebuild Detroit. How did
Yeah.
Detroit get on your radar?
Like about 2 3 years ago, just looking through, seeing where the next, where I thought the next housing boom was going to be. New York is what I consider old money. Uh, Florida is another old money place. Atlanta is just, I kind of missed the boom there was a good place. And then when I read about it through like Fiat and all these new companies were investing inside of Detroit, I thought they would need more homes. And they have about 2 million plus vacant homes and lots here. And I thought it would be a great place. So what happened for about 8 years now, I've been uh, working on this idea of this container home. I mean, there's a lot of people out here doing it now, but I don't think they were so focused on affordable housing. And I thought that Detroit was a great place to come and build container homes. And I thought it would be receptive to something new and sustainable for a long time. The space, how small or big you could use the container homes. And I'm about, I mean, I should have taken off already, but the COVID kind of slowed me down. So right now, I think I'm about like 3 months from finishing my first two homes here. And then we're slated to do 16 new homes in a place called Inkster, and then another come back to Detroit and do about 200 over the next 3 years of affordable homes for people in Detroit.
Wow. I mean, it sounds so complicated to me because you're
Mm.
doing remodeling, you're doing extensive rehab work, and you make it sound like just a day at the office.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It really is though,
How
man. I
did you get
mean,
introduced to dealing with buildings and construction and, masonry and all that comes with it?
yeah. So I started out in 2002 when I graduated. I had the restaurant and I sold it because I lost my kidneys. I actually My social worker at the time told me, "Hey man, go to Florida. You may get a transplant faster there." And I went to Florida and I got into the Florida market and I started doing landscaping. And when you do the landscaping and get into the sod, then I ran into these buildings. It was like, hey man, you think you could do these driveways for me? And that's how I started doing driveways, man. And then driveways led to doing block work. And it wasn't until I got back to New York about 3 years after that that I got into the interior part. And then when I got into New York, man, New York is a great place to learn construction. A lot of brownstones, high rise, and doing glazing, hanging outside, just learning coming up, man. And as a kid, and as a guy that didn't grow up with my father, I definitely, once I got into construction and was able to use my hands at every opportunity, man, if they say, hey, come sweep this floor, I went and learned to sweep the floor. And they say, hey, you want to learn to put some doors on? You want to learn to do this? You want to learn to hang metal windows? So in New York, it was such a great opportunity to be around men who just did construction and were willing to teach me a lot, man. So that's how I really, really, truly got into it. And then I started to master the brownstones, and I kind of stuck in that brownstone market for about 3, 4 years and got really, really good at it. And then I said, hey, I'm gonna take my talents and try to now work on my own project.
That's awesome, man. So
Mm,
buildings, I mentioned to listeners earlier, you're an artist, you
mm,
chef it up. So
mm,
I think you have shown that you have a lot you can fall back on as an entrepreneur. Any any
definitely,
any
definitely.
any um any directions you may be going in short term in addition to buildings that you want listeners to know about?
Well, I always love the restaurant thing, man. And they always say it's like having a little kid, but I've always cooked. But I think it's a lane that you could create jobs for other people, and you can be a part of it and still have other people do their thing that they love. And I think in Detroit, man, I would love to open some Caribbean restaurant. Actually, the name of the restaurant is going to be Punch and Jerk. I'm going to have it. It's going to be like the hot dog stand that they had in New York, where they had a different variety of beverages. And then, of course, the jerk chicken will be one of the mainstays. And then, obviously Jamaican food. So definitely going to get into that here a little bit because Detroit is wide open, and if you have an idea and you have time and patience, you can get it off here.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Mhm.
You exude a lot of positivity, and you've been that
Yeah.
way since I've known you, actually. I looked at a recent post of yours. It says, still here, being grateful, mentally rebuilding to finish the year strong. What
Yeah.
accounts for your positivity, which seems to just
Well,
flow out so naturally?
Well, definitely from how we grew up with our parents, and being based in God and Christ and in the church, that's where it definitely started. But then as you get older, you also put together what you see in other people. People tend to give up easily, the least little hurdle, and then you look within yourself every day when you wake up and you're like, hey man, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. In my situation, I've been dealing with renal failure since I'm 19. I'm now 42. So you're talking about like 23, 24 years of dealing with that. And just every morning I've woken up, still had the same energy. I haven't missed, and God's been good. My vision is still in front of me. I can still physically move around. So there's a lot to be thankful for, man. And I try to be thankful even in the good and the bad. And that's what continue. I meet people every day. People call me just to get a little bit of positivity from me. And so I try to always remain positive no matter what, because God's been good to all of us. And we're just here on a journey. And I always say, hey, we're all running our race. We may get to the finish line, some of us, and the rest of us are just here to be runners. And so I'm just happy to be here, man, and be positive to other people.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, it certainly encouraged me in low moments as well, your positivity. And it's not lost on me
Mhm.
that you're doing this against um, your own health challenges, which you raised earlier.
Yeah.
Tell listeners about some of those challenges. You mentioned it a little bit in some of the discussion we had, but let listeners know just what you've dealt with and are dealing with health-wise.
So about like maybe I think my sophomore year in college, man, got a little dizzy. Was playing a little basketball, got a little dizzy when I went to the nephrologist. He started telling me I had like end-stage renal failure, which was secondary to hypertension, which is a killer amongst us as Black folks. Diabetes and hypertension are the two major causes of renal end stage renal failure. And I had hypertension, man, and I believe that not that I didn't take it serious when they first told me, I just wasn't on top of my meds and lowering my blood pressure. I still went around like a normal college kid. So by the time I graduated college at 21, my kidney had started to really deteriorate, and I lost my kidneys about 6 months, totally 6 months out of college. I was on the dialysis. So I stayed on dialysis for about 5.5 years. Um, and I got a transplant in a cadaver transplant in the Bronx at Monty. Was a good match. And for 15 years, man, I had a good run. Every day. When you get transplant, you have to take anti-rejection meds, still have to take your blood pressure medication. And for 15 years, man, it was beautiful until I think about when the COVID first started, man. I got COVID, and I don't think they were really checking for it then. And I think it knocked my kidney a little bit, because after that, I started to feel more and more fatigue after I had the COVID. And I fought it for a while, and I thought it was just the way that I worked hard and continued to stay on it. And then come to realize, man, after about 8 months of feeling that way, it got worse, and it was the end of my kidney once again. So now, after a good 15 years, I'm back on dialysis now, 2 months in New York doing dialysis again. Um, but the good thing, and that I always like to tell people now about being dialysis the second time, is that the first time got me prepared for the second time. I'm a lot stronger than I was when I was on dialysis the first time. I'm able to deal with it more mentally now, because they always try to check your mental to see if, hey, how you feel. Do you feel suicidal? Do you feel like you want to hurt somebody? Do you? No, and none of those thoughts come to my mind. I'm just thankful that I had an experience, 5.5 years experience being on dialysis, and I know it's just a waiting game, and you just got to get back on the good dialysis schedule, and you still got to try to go to work, man, and still just live your life as normal as possible, so that whenever your number is called again, and I'm up again to get another transplant, I'll be physically and mentally ready. And like I was telling you before, this time though, unlike the first time about 20 years ago, they weren't pushing live donors, like people like friends, family, uh, anybody that want to just gift you a kidney. They weren't pushing that 20 years ago as much. So now it's a big option. I posted it on social media. I've honestly got a lot of love and reaction. The transplant clinic actually called me twice last week and said they got to get me worked up just in case there's a match right here. So this will be, hopefully, I pray to God that this will be a short stint on dialysis. If we got to have another 5.5 year run, I'm still ready mentally and physically. And that's where I'm at with it now, man. Just back on dialysis, trying to stay alive, man, and stay happy and healthy. That's all.
Walk listeners through the side effects. You
Yeah.
mentioned experiencing, the
Mm.
dizziness, etc. Walk us through that, and then identify for us the difference between the cadaver and the live donor.
Okay. So I get that question a lot. So I meet people all the time. They're like, "Oh, they're dizzy, or they dehydrated, or their energy is low." Most times, it's your kidney or your liver that's causing that. Um, Hypertension is very, very hard to detect at first if you don't go to the doctor. And I I want to push that as Black men, and not only for kidney failure, cancer, all these things. If you detect them early, it's a better chance for you, man. And I want to promote us as Black men definitely going to the doctor at least 2-3 times a year and
That
getting
early
really, really
detection,
good
man.
checkup. Early detection is
Yeah.
very important. So, like I always say, the hypertension, man, it'll creep up on you. When it creep up on you, then and you figure it out. If you figure it out once it creep up on you, it's probably too late, and that's what's causing a lot of this renal failure. And, the food. I always say that something in the food, something in how they're processing the food different now, because there's so many people that's losing their kidneys through hypertension and diabetes. So the feeling is like you're going, you're going, you're going, and you're strong, and then it's like you can feel your energy go, like a battery, like almost like a battery dying. You still can move, but your energy just not there. Um, the cadaver is someone who, like you said before, someone who put that they want to be a donor if something ever happened to them on their card and their license. Some of it, when the person is deceased, their family members make that decision for them. Hey, okay, they could still use their organs. You want to give it to someone and gift it, and they say yes, and which is what I got the first time. Um, and now the live donors, just anybody who's healthy and nothing's wrong with it. Even if you help and give a kidney to someone, nothing will happen to you. Your body won't go less or anything's gonna happen to you. None of that. It's just a surgery. You get some pain meds, and then you can go on with your daily life. So that's what we're hoping for right now, man. Is for me to get back in the game with a live donor. Um, just so I could continue to just get back to regular life.
And you'll be on dialysis until there's a
Yeah,
match.
yeah, you have to stay on dialysis. That dialysis is the only thing you could do right now. So another thing though, I met with them about a week ago now, talking about PD and another in-home dialysis. So the in-home dialysis is almost like having one of those dialysis machine in your house, and you and your family trying to help you dialyze at home. So it will help me to be able to go outside more and be more free. And then the PD makes it even more free because the machine is the size of like a briefcase, but they have a catheter coming through your stomach. And that one though you have to do every day because it makes you more free. But for being more free, you have to do it like every day. Um, so they try to train you for 5 weeks. I'm gonna start doing that here in about 2 weeks. I just got to weigh all my options, man, and what's best for me as I continue down this journey. And so I think I'm going to head towards the PD considering all the stuff that I have to do here in Michigan, just try to take care of this until God blesses me again.
And there are listeners who want to help you. And I saw the Facebook post, a number of
Mm,
people forwarded it just in terms of raising awareness. What could
mm.
listeners do who are interested in being live donors?
Well, just like there's a list out there for live donors. I'm not the only one that's waiting on a transplant or waiting on a kidney. Man, there's some people, some really, really, really good people who just life has taken this turn. There are so many coordinators at all these transplant hospitals. Like I said, I'm affiliated with Montefiore, and on my page, I have the young ladies. Let me see if I can grab her card real quick. I have I have a contact at Monty that's dealing with with me specifically. Um, but they take live donors, man. If you feel like you want to help somebody out there who is just sitting around on dialysis. Um, Her name is Alicia Wright, the live donor transplant coordinator at Montefiore. Um, Her number is 718-920-6729. And her name is Alicia Wright once more. Just give her a call and she'll set it up, man. And you say, hey, you want to become a live donor? It's as simple as that. I want to become a live donor. And hey, I look at all those people who've reached out to me and have gone and got tested. Hey, man, I I know you guys have love for me, and then maybe they can help somebody else. You know what I mean? Maybe somebody else that's been sitting around so long. Because there's people that have been on dialysis. Like I said, I was on it 5.5 years the first time. I've met people on it 10, 15 years. I've met people with transplants 30 years. So I've met
Mhm.
people who got transplanted also and didn't even make it out the room in terms of being transplanted, had to get back on dialysis. So there are
Wow.
complications for people who get transplanted, man, and everybody's journey not different. I know people who our sister from church, man, Kadine's sister,
Rocky,
um,
Roxy, Rocky.
Roxanne.
Right, right.
Rocky got, I think Rocky's on her second or third transplant. So when sometimes, like I said, I've been always grateful that I only had one and it lasted so long. You know what I mean? Everybody's story is not the same. But one thing though, that people who get transplants and keep them good are fighters, and you know, and respect the fact that God has given them a second chance.
Really appreciate, and I will put the facilitators, the coordinators' information in the podcast notes. Garcia, thank you so much for
Mm,
giving us some insight into your journey and your struggle.
mm,
I don't imagine it's the easiest thing for you to deal with. I think you mentioned even earlier that physically, because you're on dialysis, it may limit some of your working options or
mm.
some of your entrepreneurial leanings.
Yep. Yeah. So it makes you got to be, like I said, being an entrepreneur is also like you're a chameleon. You're able to
Hmm.
change directions in a second. And some people will look at you and they'll say, "Oh man, he can't do one thing," but they don't even know the struggle you're dealing with. They don't know when you get up in the morning you can't go. And man, I've been taking 30 pills a day since I'm 19, man, every
Wow.
day. So
Hmm.
people see you, they don't know. They'll
Hmm.
talk and they'll say, and I always say this, man, that one of the greatest sayings people have, until you in another man's shoe, you wouldn't even know, man. So I don't judge people. I see people every day do certain things, and I'm like, some people probably looking at them like they're crazy, but most people are just trying to survive, trying to get to their goals, and the challenges that they face every day impact the decisions they make. I'm not saying all of them are right or wrong or whatever. So I tend not to judge people, man, because when you up against it, it's really just you and God, and you got to make what decisions, especially like we talk about having kids. Man, I have my son. That impacts me every day, not some days. It's like when when you're healthy, I think you think, oh, you're gonna live forever and your kids, and then you're gonna see this, and you're gonna see this in your kids. I don't come from that thought process because of what I'm dealing with. So every day, every decision I make it because I have a son, and I want to make sure if I'm here, great, and that's my plan. My plan is to be here. But if I'm not, also great, because I would have done the things that will allow him to know that, hey, my father always put me first, man. That's how I work, and that's how my decisions are made. Is how is this going to impact my son, whether I'm here or not? So
It's
you just
powerful,
gotta stay
man.
strong, man. Yeah. Gotta stay
So I,
strong, man.
I want to give you the opportunity to talk about legacy.
Mm,
Certainly, someone who becomes a donor, like I have
mm,
on my card, and many people have indicated they wish to be donors, and some put it in their
mm.
estate planning documents. And your legacy lives on because you may be able to give somebody a life
A second chance.
saving, right? A second chance. Talk to us about even your own legacy now as a father of a 6-year-old, and
Mm.
what legacy means to you as well in that sense.
Well, legacy is everything, and it's something that unfortunately I don't think is pushed or talked about a lot. Um, Especially because in religion they say, hey, you're looking for yours when God comes, or this and that. But legacy is so important here, especially just for me moving. Detroit is a prime example of that. I believe a lot of people left these homes to people who didn't have the education to carry on what their parents did here. So they lost a lot of this stuff to the city, a lot of this stuff to taxes, just off not knowing the importance of legacy. So to me, it's one it's secondary to none. You have to put your kids forward. Not that they're going to come and do exactly what you want them to do, but you have to give them a chance. And most of us don't have a chance. We have to start over, start from the bottom, start from the first leg of the race again. And I don't want that for my son. And none of us should. We should put him in a position to really, really run the race. I don't think we were really in a position to run the race. Well, I think our parents put us in a position to get educated. I think anybody between the 80s, 90s, and 2000, we got great education. I think that was what our parents set us up for. And now I think that we should set our kids up to attain things, financial, like monetary things, good living, set them up to eat better, right? Even in their diet, in their thought processes,
Sure.
everything. And that thing about legacy is so important to me. Um, is that my son right now I have one, hopefully I can have another one or whatever. But for him, and I teach him every day, every time I'm around him, to just respect other people and never think you're better than anybody because of the things that I'm gonna set you up with. And that's what I try to teach him.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, bro, I'm praying, man. I'll do whatever I can to get the info out there. Certainly,
Hmm.
there are individuals who would love to uh, get the word out. We're praying that not only for you, but all those who are on the waiting list will find
Hmm.
matches. And very often, I'm sure you're in the position where, I figure a conversation, I'll encourage you, but as you always do, you
Mm.
encourage me. There's
Yeah.
someone listening, Garcia, who um, maybe in a season now where they're waiting on something as well. You exude
Mm.
positivity so much. In closing, is there anything you want to say to listeners from the good book of Garcia?
Well, always, man, and always, and this is what I live on and live by, is just every day is an opportunity, man. And once we're up every day, we gotta just give our best. That's it. Every day is an opportunity. Don't worry about yesterday. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just today. You gotta make today count, man. And that's all I try to do every day is to make today count.
Awesome. Where can people
Mhm.
follow your journey? I've indicated that you exude, you share what you're doing work-wise, you share words of encouragement. Where can they follow your journey on social media?
Well, Gausia Jones on Facebook and on Instagram is infamous underscore GFUS. I'm there, man. I haven't been posting a lot lately because I've been in my season. Um, a season of just trying to figure it out, man. Nothing else. Just trying to figure out how to get past some things. But every day, man, I'm there, man, trying to motivate people to keep going.
We appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
Gausia
for sure.
Jones is an entrepreneur, a father, a creative, person, as I indicated, motivational speaker. He exudes
Mhm.
grace and positivity. Thank you, bro, for joining me on the podcast. I look forward to your journey. And as I indicated, my prayers are that you will find a match real soon.
All right, thanks, brother. Thanks for having me, man. And continue to do your thing, man.
Appreciate it, man. Love and blessings, and we'll keep in touch.
All right, brother. Be blessed.